This amazing woman is representing her hospice in a county where 42% of the population is over 60. Her end-of-life experience with her husband, Dwight, is timely and of benefit to many in her community, asking, are you ready to make end-of-life decisions? Please put your hands together for M.E. Bartholomew.
Last night I had a dream about dying, about laying to rest and then flying, how the moment at hand is the only thing we really own. Those are not my words. Those are the words of the fabulous John Denver. These next few words I'm going to speak are not mine either. I'm never going to the hospital again. Ever. Okay, honey. I think we can make that happen. How? I don't know what to do. All I know how to do is call 911. Help! What if you were to fall? What would I do? What if you had a heart attack? What would I do? Or you've got pneumonia, for God's sake. I don't know. Well, fortunately for us, the home health nurse was there. It seems to me that the two of you need to call hospice. Hospice, isn't that for when you're actually dying? Well, yes, it is, but it's also about end-of-life care. And that's what you guys are facing. Oh, okay. Well, what do we have to do? First thing you do is you get an order from your doctor that says that he's going to die in the next 6 months, possibly. Well, that shouldn't be too tough. He's been going to die in the next 6 months for the last 3 years. What was tough was getting the appointment with the doctor. Took 6 weeks to get that appointment, and in the meantime, I felt like I was carrying around this load of rocks on my back of worry, tension, stress about what could possibly happen. I didn't know what I would do. Well, the day came. The doctor signed the order, and I called hospice. The nurse came the next day and signed us up. And I said to her, well, what'll I do if he falls? You call hospice. Well, what do I do if he has a heart attack? You call hospice. Okay, well, what if he gets pneumonia? You call hospice. I felt like that load of rocks just fell off my back. I could breathe again. I felt like, okay, I knew what to do now. I put hospice on speed dial. And I had many opportunities to use that number. You see, one of the things that happens quite frequently when people get enrolled in hospice, they get better. He lived for another 3 years. It was awesome. And what it was partly that both of us could relax. He didn't have to worry about going to the hospital anymore. And I didn't have to worry about what to do for him. Yes, I was his caregiver for about 6 years. But it's different when you have somebody you can trust. So what happened at the hospital that he never wanted to go again? It was horrendous. I'll give you 3 guesses. Nah, I won't either. I'll just tell you. It was COVID. In the last 15 years before this happened, I had gone to every doctor appointment with him. I'd been with him through 3 surgeries, and he always needed me because he couldn't hear. And when you're laying in bed, you're not wearing your hearing aids. He couldn't understand what people were saying. They'd ask him how he was doing, and he'd go, fine. You know, most of the time he was not fine. That's why he needed me. Well, COVID put the kibosh on that. They wouldn't even let me in the door of the emergency room. I had to go off and leave him there. What was happening is he had a huge pain in his foot, and his leg, and his hip. We didn't know what it was. I took him to the emergency room. Sayonara. That was it. They didn't even help him go to the bathroom. He's in a wheelchair. He can't get out of the wheelchair. He has to go to the bathroom. And they give him the key to the bathroom. Well, he didn't have spare clothes. So he came back out in his underwear with his jacket over him. And I wasn't there. Well, they called me the next day. Oh, we're going to airlift him to Seattle, to Virginia Mason Hospital. And I'm going, why? Why? Well, he has a blood clot in his foot, and they're going to have to amputate his foot. Amputate his foot? Does he want you to amputate his foot? It didn't matter. So $55,000 later, which is the cost of the helicopter ride to Seattle, the next day the doctor calls me and says, Mrs. Bartholomew, I'm afraid there's nothing we can do for your husband. And I said, oh, why? He's too old. He was 87. He has congestive heart failure. Well, you're not telling me anything new. And he has legs full of aneurysms. So anything that they do would just reoccur. And then they had the nerve to say, well, if he was only 60, we could give him drugs and we could, do some surgery and repair him, and it would probably work. And I got the feeling that the doctor thought he was giving him a death sentence. So he said, I'm so sorry. And I said, no, don't be, because I'm sure that he did not want you to amputate his foot. Well, later, after we get the information about hospice, they had so much information for me that I did not know. I had a POLST. Who here knows what a POLST is? Ooh, not very many. It's called a physician's order
Life-saving treatments.
For life-saving treatments. Thank you. And on the POLST, that's where you put if you do not want him to be resuscitated, DNR. And I had checked that. I don't want him to be resuscitated. But I didn't realize there's another checkbox on there, and I didn't understand the importance of it. The other checkbox was no extreme measures. I would consider amputating your foot an extreme measure. If I had had that checked, he would not have gone for a $55,000 helicopter ride to Seattle. So when he came back, Hospice helped us find out what plan we wanted for his end of life. I didn't know you had to plan your end of life. I thought it just happened. You know, like I'm going to die in my sleep. Right? Are you planning on dying in your sleep? Well, I'm afraid only 8% of people, Americans, die in their sleep. It's not a very high number. What they did was they gave us a bunch of tools to use to plan his end of life. One of them was a book. It was called Being Mortal, M-O-R-T-A-L, mortal, by a doctor named Atul Gawande. And Dr. Gawande was an emergency room doctor. He saw a lot of death. And what he said in this book, basically, his main message was that doctors do not know how to talk to people about death, because they're trained to keep you alive as long as they possibly can. And there are some people who want that. But that's usually at the cost of comfort, of quality of life, put you on drugs that you don't need and can't handle. So he recommended that you find a doctor who knows how to talk about end of life. Interview them. Then another tool they introduced us to was called the Go Wish cards. Go Wish is a deck of cards that has statements on the back that you might find important for your end of life. Things like, I want to die with my family around me. Or, if I can't read anymore, I don't want to live. Everybody has different ideas of what will affect them at the end of their lives. And this is put out by a company or an organization called CODA Alliance. If you go online, you can go to either CODA Alliance, Google it, or you can Google Go Wish. And up will pop this game and all the information that CODA Alliance might have for you, which is a lot. So the directions for the game suggest that it might be a good idea if you went through and you each picked out your top 10 wishes for the end of your life. Well, Dwight and I never did anything like we were told. We decided it'd be more fun if he chose his top 10 cards, and then I chose his top 10 cards. We wanted to see how well I knew him. Well, I thought I knew him pretty well. No, I only got one right. So what this tells me is that we never really know someone, that this is a useful tool. It was a wonderful tool to find out so that I would know what was really important to him. So his top 3, we won't go to the top 10, that'd take forever. His top 3 were, the first one was not to be hooked to machines. I never even thought of that. But obviously he'd just been in the hospital. The second one was to not be in pain. Hospice provides drugs for end of life that will take you out of the pain and make it easier for you to die. The third thing that he wanted was to die at home. The last day of his life, I had by that time had a night nurse because I couldn't do 24/7 taking care of him. So the night nurse was there. I got up in the morning about 6 a.m. I went into the living room. She was sitting on the couch. And we're having a nice little morning chat. drinking our coffee, and we hear over the baby monitor that we have in his room. Hospice provided that too. Good morning, time to wake up. Good morning. This is a man who couldn't get out of bed on his own and could not take care of his own basic daily needs. Anyway, so all I could think of was, wow, he's so cheerful. And later on that day, he had an event of some kind. We had no idea what it was. It could have been a heart attack, could have been a stroke, we don't know. But it became obvious to me that he was going to die. So I called hospice, the nurse came out, my best friend came over, and at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I sat down beside him on the bed and I had my hand on his shoulder, and he said, "I didn't know it was gonna hurt so much." Oh, and that was one of the things he didn't want for the end of his life, was to be in pain. So I looked at the hospice nurse and he looked at me, and we're both going, yeah, get the morphine. So I ran and got the morphine and came back and gave him a dose. He died an hour later. But it was a beautiful experience for both of us, because, that wasn't the only day he woke up singing. He would wake up in the morning and be humming. He was a cheerful, wonderful person. So, one of the things I learned this summer, I went to a class that said, it was called Courageous Conversations. Guess what that was for? Any ideas what they're talking about? Is having the end-of-life discussion with the people you care about. Doesn't matter if they're going to die tomorrow or 3 years from now, or maybe you will. The point being that if you don't know what your loved one wants, you can't make it happen. So there's a bunch of tools out there. Oh, there's one called the 5 Wishes. Hospice introduced us to this one too. And it helps you discover or realize what you want your medical directive to be. And that means as you're dying, what do you want on that to say? And it runs you through a bunch of questions and answers. It's wonderful. It's also recognized in Washington State and 12 other states as a legal document. So you can sit with your family and read through these and discuss them and decide what it is that you want for your end of life and what do they want for their end of life. Because, you could have a heart attack tomorrow, or you could have an accident. What if no one knows what it is you'd like to have happen at the end of your life? The courageous conversations is having that conversation with your family. Talking about dying is one of the most difficult things we do in this country. We can't talk about dying. We make our transition. We cross the rainbow bridge. Or maybe that's our pets. That's our pets. Oh, well. So there's a zillion ways to talk about it besides saying he died. Now, they all amount to the same thing. He moved on. And so what I am encouraging you to do is find out what your family would like to see happen at the end of their lives, and what would you like to see happen at the end of yours. There are lots of tools out there. All you have to do is Google end of life, and you'll find them. I lay in my bed and I wonder when everything's said and is done for, why is it thus we are here, and so soon we are gone?
M.E. Bartholomew. Thank you for that. What material? How did you start into this subject?
I became very interested in helping hospice to let people know what they do. Mm-hmm. And so I had already been in Toastmasters for 8 years, and I did a couple of very interesting talks. One was about living with someone who has hearing issues.
What?
Hearing issues.
What?
Yeah, hearing issues.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
one
perfect.
more time.
What?
And that one, people responded to so strongly that I thought after he died and I was thinking about hospice, I wanted to help. I wanted to explain to people why it's so important to do these things. And his story was so compelling because he had a bad experience. And then we came to hospice. So, yeah, that's what got it started.
Excellent. One day I'll introduce you to my friend Kathy Dempsey, who calls herself a death doula. Do you know her?
No, I know of the deaf doulas.
Okay, wow, that was what she meant. She read my mind, Greg Bennick. She just totally read my mind. Okay, let's get some audience comments. What did you get from ME here? Anyone here would like to share? Right over here.
Emmy, you're so courageous.
There were tears there coming at one point.
To share the most vulnerable moments. And yet you did it in a way that was so clear. I know that you have processed, you have done a lot of processing for yourself to be able to stand in front of other people that you don't know to tell that story. And we're better for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinny. You know, one of the things they say is don't do therapy on the stage. I don't know if you've heard this.
No, I haven't heard that one, but
which is don't use stories like this that are so personal until you do that processing. Right? Is there something that you did to, like, you feel okay sharing this story now?
Well, he's been gone for 2 years now, so it isn't immediate. I've also given this talk. I did it in contest one time.
You've been through grief group twice, too.
Yeah. Twice through. Lindy's in a grief group with me.
Wow. So multiple times. Again, the retelling again makes it easier and easier every time, too. Repetition? Yeah. Okay, over here, Joe.
Hi. Right here.
Oh, there you are.
I'm also the Will Fairy, so we started talking about that. So,
yes, we started talking.
So, and the reason I bring that up is I loved the humor and the candor and the matter of fact of how you brought this topic in. In that there's so many layers that keep us, like you said, keep us from this conversation and making it a human occurrence. And so just the fact of how you told your story and having those moments, there was moments I laughed, and like at my core I was good with it, but then there was like this societal moment, I'm like, oh, did I laugh at the wrong place? And I was like, well, I don't believe that, right?
Everybody else was laughing too.
Right, no, I know, but I mean, like for myself, I'm like, I don't believe that, but it's just so interesting how strong that is, that we can't, that all of those things, when you said the courageous conversations, I thought it was about having sex before they died. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, it left me open. It left me open to remember. No. I mean, you're a couple and you love each other, and I don't know, like, why would I make the assumption? We'd already established there's a lot of courageous things happening, and I was like, woo, wow, I wonder what that's all about. But the reason the question came in was because you had we were in your life with you. We were walking through the halls. We were in your house. We were, you were dealing with all these things. So that led me into like, oh, okay, let's see where this goes.
I could make up a fairy story for you.
And that's to say, you don't have to make up anything. It just was I felt I was there with you, and the way you delivered it was so matter of fact, and it was funny and fabulous. And thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, their storytelling ability, all right, the ability to put you somewhere where she was is really one of the keys. Gary.
So I think your message is very important. People don't know about. I went through this experience starting 12 months ago when my dad was getting older, and he passed away this last April, but he lived to 103 weeks old. But this whole thing about the hospital and the hospice thing was a maze of mystery to us. I had my brother and sister helping, and it was great.
I know.
But we were in a whirlwind of confusion, and we didn't know how it worked. The whole thing you said about the doctor and all that, we didn't know that until we were in it, and it's like almost too late. And going to the hospital at that age is the worst thing that can happen to a human being.
It is.
Do not take anyone to the hospital that's elderly. They ruin them. They turn them into vegetables.
They do.
It's crazy, but the hospice was good. Once we got into that, it helped.
Yeah.
So your message is important. I hope you get it out there more, and thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
I do have to say that we do have one friend that when we said to him, what do you want for the end of your life? He said, I want that doctor to keep me alive as long as he possibly can. Wow, he really meant that.
Well, at least he knows what he wants. Right?
Yeah, he knows what he wants.
All right, outstanding. This will be last comment.
This one's quick, but I like that you started with a song and ended with a song. And that you could get centered enough after all that emotional journey you were clearly going through, and you were taking us through enough to sing that last song really impressed me. It was fine. Very nice. Yeah.
Outstanding. And one more time, M.E. Bartholomew.